It's Ingrid and Leslie Go Global Week, and today we are heading to Australia. Today we're joined by Amy Revell, a leading decluttering and organizing expert all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Amy is Australian organizing royalty, so we're delighted she's joining me on the show today. Amy is deeply passionate about helping people find freedom from clutter so they can discover their purpose and truly live life. Get ready for fresh practical insights from the host of the Art of Decluttering podcast. And it's a real honest conversation. And we're going to talk about the thinking and doing of decluttering. So let's dive in.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here's your host, Ingrid Jansen.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid. If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find the fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get involved in conversations related to this podcast, it all takes place in our free Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm and supportive community. Go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more. Well, hello, Amy. Thank you for being on this very special episode in Ingrid and Leslie Go Global Week. How lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ingrid. I love that Go Global has included us down under. That's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, when Leslie and I started the Declutter Hub and we started the podcast, we just thought, oh, a few people in the UK will listen in. And soon we were like, wow. Oh, wow. We've got listeners in Australia and New Zealand and Canada and America and Europe. This is so exciting. And then we set up the membership and we have members from all over the world as well. So, of course, we could not go global without including you guys down under, right?
I would sort of the things I love about the decluttering world in podcasting is that you can kind of get bits and you get the same kind of general vibe from all of us because we're so passionate about it. But you get tips and tricks on different personalities and different ways of doing things. So I just think that's the best. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. So, do you actually live in Melbourne yourself? I know you cover Victoria. Of course, Australia is so big. I had to Google it because I've never been to Australia. It's so on my bucket list.
Come
So,
one day.
I know it's so high on the list. I would love to. I would love to. So,
It is
are you in
beautiful.
Melbourne yourself?
I am. I'm right in the heart of Melbourne. I'm just outside of the city and we're just heading into the cooler months now. So I see that you're dressed like it's quite warm and then I'm starting to rug up on this side of the planet at the moment.
Yeah, I know. And we've got, of course, we've got a 9 hour time difference as well. So we don't only have changes in seasons, but we also have a time difference. And I know we're quite lucky at this moment because it's only 9 hours and not 11 or 12 that it can be as well, right?
Yeah, we've done well. We've done very well.
Now, you have done the Art of Decluttering podcast I for ages as well. So when did you start and why did you start?
Yeah, so I've been doing the art of decluttering as a business for about 11 years, but the podcast for about 8. And I think like
Okay.
what my business has evolved to is like where the people are and the information they want is where I'm at. And so it started off just doing in-home services and very quickly I wrote my first book because lots of people outside of where I could actually service were like, hang on, can you teach us this? I was like, absolutely, this is a learnable skill. Let me help you, which is
Mhm.
exactly what you and Leslie have done, which just fills my heart with so much joy. And then a friend of mine introduced me to podcasting, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is incredible!" And have not looked back from a podcasting perspective because you get to not only have conversations instead of it feels two-way in a podcast. Even if you're doing solo episodes, It feels like you're having
Yeah.
a conversation with your friends. And so you
Yeah.
can, over a period of time, take people on a journey and really discover and explore and be curious about all the different ways that decluttering and organizing impacts on our worlds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think apart from the fact I started a couple of years earlier than you did, around 2010, 2011, the similarities between us are like crazy, right? Because we were talking before we hit record that we're like our kids are the similar age. We both love decluttering so much still, even
Yeah.
hands-on work. Our podcast as well started in 2018, kind of that time. So it's incredible, honestly, how we are the same at opposite sides of the world.
I know we're like sisters just doing our decluttering thing.
I know exactly. Now, why did you get started in the first place with being an organizer? What sparked what sparked it all?
Yeah, I would say that I was, Ingrid, a very good organizer before I was a very good declutterer. When
Mm-hmm.
my kids were little, everything had a home,
Mm-hmm.
everything was labeled, but we kept everything. And so
Okay.
we kept the clothes they'd grown out of, but they were perfectly in boxes. They were clean, they were labeled. I knew exactly what size they were. We kept all of the toys. And it just became like really overwhelming because I some days would spend hours cleaning up and tidying up. And so people would come over and you'd think, oh, wow, her house is really organized.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I discovered the power of decluttering that I went from like just overwhelmed and busy to actually like finding freedom from clutter and going, oh, if you have less, you don't have to organize as much.
Yeah.
If you have less, you've got freedom to do the things that you love with the people that you love. And so
Yeah.
for me, it was a real shift from just knowing about the importance and the power of organizing to
Mm-hmm.
kind of like unlock the superpower of decluttering, which
Yeah.
really is foundational. You need to do that before you can master organizing.
Yeah. Because what we see all the time, right? And I'm sure you see the same thing. People who have a lot of clutter think they need to buy boxes and containers and put labels on things so they can get more organized.
Yeah.
Well, we know it's not about the boxes and about the labels, which is lovely. That's the 5% at the end. We
Yeah.
know
It's
the
a fun bit at the
power.
end.
Yes, we know the power is in decluttering, right? The power in is what is important enough to keep him alive. We talk a lot about not what are you going to throw away or throw out or trash, or we talk about what is important enough to keep.
Mm.
What are the things that make you happy? And once you know that, then you can look at the rest and go, what is all this stuff doing in my house?
Yeah. And one of the things that I often talk about, Ingrid, is identifying the problem is a
Mm-hmm.
really important first step because a lot of people assume, as you said, that the problem is an organizational problem.
Yeah.
But usually, and I always say, start here first. Do you have a quantity problem?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't move on to a maintenance problem or a systems problem if you haven't dealt with the quantity problem. And so I think when you can master that, then you can move on to solving the next problems. But you've kind of got to come back to the foundations of if you've got too much stuff, you're never going to finish being organized. Like that's
Yeah.
just an impractical way of looking at it, even though
Yeah.
it's our natural lens often.
Yeah. I think that is so true because I think and it's all wrapped up with each other as well, right? The quantity of stuff, is it indeed a problem with the structures? Is it the location? Is it the
Hmm.
organizing? Is it the not doing the chores or not doing the chores often enough, the maintenance? It and people who are overwhelmed with clutter, it can all gets muddled, right? And then throw
Hmm.
in a bit of yeah, my cleaning is like I can't clean anywhere, so I'm behind on that. And this other room needs to be painted, and I need to do some DIY, and stuff is broken. And and then it all gets a whole heap of I need to declutter and DIY and clean and tidy and organize. And what do I do first now?
Yeah, and it's very overwhelming. One of the things I can I jump to talking about how great your book is?
Oh,
I know it's like you guys go global week, but I just if you have not read it, you need to because one of the things that really stuck out for me is you guys talk about the thinking before the doing and like as you just spoke, you identified like all these possible problems, but until we can actually think about them, the doing can often be ineffective. Like the
mhm.
thinking is like sharpening the sword and determining kind of your plan of action so that when you do the doing, it's an effective use of your time and energy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, well, thank you. I was going to ask you about, what did you think about the book, but thank you for saying that you absolutely loved it, and it was such a wonderful opportunity to write how Leslie and I feel about
Mm,
decluttering, because Leslie's a professional organizer as well. We each run our own businesses together. We're the Declutter Hub. So we've been in people's homes. We
yeah.
did the decluttering and organizing for years and years and years, thousands of projects, thousands of clients. And what we figured out along the way, and what we are so aligned on together as well, is that you have to understand the emotions that sit behind clutter.
Yep.
Because what we see out there is all about stuff,
Mm,
boxes,
mm.
containers, labels, stuff. What are you going to do with the stuff? How are you going to get rid of the stuff? What are you going to, all, and we're like, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. You have to kind of look first at why is the clutter there? Why am I holding on to it? What are the emotions that sit behind this clutter? And why is it so hard to declutter? Because so many people make out that decluttering is easy. But if you're very overwhelmed, you're like, everybody says this is easy, but I find it really hard. Am I the only one who finds this hard? And once you start to unravel these emotions,
Yeah.
then you can kind of go, oh, and I'm really glad that you, as a fellow professional organizer, it makes me proud that you, as a fellow professional organizer, says you really need to read this book because it's a fantastic book. And that, thank you so much for that. I
Oh
really
no,
appreciate that.
can I tell you specifically?
Yeah.
Because there's a compliment, and then let me tell you specifically, like there were so many things. One of the things I loved is your subtitles are the best subtitles I've ever seen in a book. Now, most people don't, that's not what most people are leaving literary reviews about. However, I think that actually what you guys have done is you've signposted what can be an otherwise quite overwhelming job of decluttering. Resetting your home can actually feel quite overwhelming, but you haven't just signposted with chapters. Like the signposts are a kind way to guide people where you
Hmm.
feel like you're getting chunks and you're going on a path and it's like sequential and it's intentional. Like, honestly, I know I'm nerding out, but I have never loved subtitles. Subtitles, like, and I don't mean subtitles like when you're watching a film and they come up down the bottom. I mean the subtitling of the chapters. It was really, really powerful. Like, I think you guys did a really great job in thinking about who's reading the book, where they're at, what they're feeling,
Hmm.
and actually then taking them on that journey. Like, yeah, I had a lovely nerd moment enjoying those.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, of course, just for clarity, listeners, we did of course send Amy the book a couple of weeks before this recording because we were like, we would love to invite you to the podcast and we want to hear all about you, but here's our book and have a read. And you just came back with the most glowing email saying, wow, I absolutely love the book. And I think from
Yeah.
hearing that from your peers is such a wonderful, and you're such an expert as well yourself. You've been in the industry for a long time. You work with, you've got a team, you've got a podcast. So we appreciate, those lovely comments because I think it's lovely to hear when you get nice feedback, right? And it's from somebody that you respect and that you are, thinking, it's on such a high level in organizing as well. That's
Mm,
fantastic. So thank you for
yeah.
that.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys have done really well.
Thank you. It was a labor of love. As most of our listeners know, Leslie did the writing itself because, of course, although I am a fluent speaker, I can write quite well, but I cannot write as well as Leslie. But she was the one who wrote. But of course, it's our thoughts and our system,
Yeah.
and we worked on it together collaboratively. And but yes, especially those subtitles and things that is all
Oh,
Leslie. She's amazing.
snaps
So,
to you, Leslie.
oh, definitely. So if you have to if you look at the book as a whole, you love the subtitles, you love the thinking and the doing. Did our order make sense? Did the way
Mm,
we kind of put it together and the way we go through people's houses? Because there's a
yes.
whole thought behind it, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's really smart because your experience shows that some areas are harder and some areas are easier and some areas are more kind of generic It's
Mm-hmm.
relatively similar for every home, and some areas you're like, wow, every home is completely different in this way. And so I think kind of taking people gently through that is a really kind way of doing it. I also
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really smart way of doing it because you build your decluttering muscle. I actually think you had like a little pop out in one of your books around the decluttering muscle, which I loved because, as professional organizers, we talk about this decluttering muscle all the time, which is
Yeah.
the lot more that you do something, the more familiar it becomes, the stronger you become, the more easy it is for you to make decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that you actually naturally build that with the reader as
Mm-hmm.
they progress through, which I think, you know, enables them to have greater success, which is literally the reason that you wrote the book. You didn't just write a book because you guys had nothing better to do. It's because you care about your listeners and your
Yeah.
readers.
Yeah, for sure. And I
Yeah.
think, and our listeners and readers and members were asking us for it as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
for years, like, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? And we're like, it's on the list. And then when a
Yeah.
publishing house approached us, we were like, okay, it's gone from the list on the low on the list. It's gone really like on number one of the list now. And we need to do this because they also convinced us that our message was so important to be
It
heard.
is. Yeah. One of the things that stood out for me is you wrote a bit about not allowing other people's relationships with stuff to distract you from what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
you might be decluttering and someone else is like, oh, you can't get rid of that, or it's trying to sabotage you, or just like, no, I'm not getting rid of my stuff. And I really liked just kind of identifying that as a problem because I think that people experience that all the time. Sometimes that person is ourselves, Ingrid.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's ourselves going, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, maybe I should just go for a walk instead. But sometimes it's literally other people that we live with, which can be tricky.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really important to, when you are on the decluttering journey, is to see that it's your journey. And you
Mm,
might get some passengers on coming to join you on this journey,
yeah.
but you're on it. And I think that's why it's so important to start in easier rooms and to start with kind of rooms that, well, you're in charge of, sounds of it. But I mean,
Mhm.
when you have live in a house, you all kind of have areas that you are kind of more responsible for than others. I don't know how it works in your house, but like,
Yeah,
I know
totally.
which, like, I'm not good. I'm not bad. I'm bad at like wires and cables and things. So that is definitely something that my husband does. Well, I do kind of other rooms that are more kind of my forte, the
Yeah.
clothes, well, the kids' clothes. They're getting older now, but you've got your forte. So work in those remits first, because I think when there's a lot of clutter, it's so easy to go, but I want to get rid of that stuff. That's not my stuff because that seems
But it's so much
easier.
easier,
Yeah,
so much easier. And we're not emotionally attached. And we're like, no, you need to get rid of that. And then when they turn around and say, but what about your pile? Oh,
yeah.
okay, maybe I should focus on that.
Exactly. So we always say, start with your own rooms, with your own clutter, with your own clothes, with your own books, with your own, do it in that order.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, other people in the house, if there's more people in your family, are gonna go, huh, this is interesting. Hmm. I might have one or two things myself that I'm no longer using. And it
Mm.
will never go fast enough because the people who are on a decluttering journey, they're changing their mindset day after day. So they're like looking at the others going, when are you coming on board? When are you coming on board? But you can't force that issue, can you?
No, you can't. And if you do, you're likely to have them kind of push back. It's like the elastic band theory where if you pull away, they'll come a bit closer, but it can stretch it too far and then they bounce away and you push them away rather than drawing them along with you.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a fantastic analogy. Absolutely. Right. You know what? Let's go for a quick break. And I would love to know more about the clutter problems that you've identified. We touched upon quantity a little bit, but I would love to talk to you more because you talk a lot about that in your community as well. So I really, really would like to know more about that. So we'll see you soon. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm so proud and delighted to be chatting with Amy Revell from the Art of Decluttering podcast all the way down under. She's in Melbourne, Australia. And I mean, Amy, I forgot to tell you, the only other Australian organizer we've ever interviewed is Peter Walsh. So it's
Oh,
really
Peter's
about
lovely.
time. It's about time you guys got represented on this show.
That's great. I'm in good company with Peter.
Definitely. I know he's everywhere, isn't he? So
He is. He's a good
fantastic.
Melbourne boy as well.
Is he? Oh, I didn't know. I hadn't realized that. Well, thank you for being here. It's so nice to talk to you. Now you also, you say, you've got the podcast, you still do in-house organizing, you've got a team of people, you've got a community of people around you as well. And you
Yeah.
talk a lot about identifying clutter problems. I would love to
Mhm.
know more. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, what I found, Ingrid, is I was talking to people a lot about solutions. I'm like
Yeah.
just naturally who I am. I'm a solutions person. Like I have to bite my tongue when friends just want to have a chat and vent because I want to come up with a solution. And so I found like I was talking solutions, but then I went, oh, I don't think people can identify what problems are. And so what they do is they just pick a random solution that they might hear on the podcast or see on socials. But until you get the problem right, it
Mm-hmm.
actually is not, you're not solving the right problem. And so what I did is identified four different problems that people have. So people might have a motivation problem where they just can't get started. They look at the clutter, maybe they're walking at the end of the day and go, oh, I just hate coming home. I hate when people pop over. I don't like this house. And so what I did then is went, okay, here's the problem, but what is the solution? And I think for a motivation problem, the solution is to set vision, to actually know, like, why do I want to do this? This is not a vision of like a Pinterest board. This is more about vision of who am I? What do I want to feel in my home? How do I want to experience my night times? How do I want my relationships within the home? How do I want it to be when there's three loads of laundry? Is that overwhelming? Or can I quickly whip through those? And so I think once you've got that vision, then often what people want to do, which we talked about earlier, is they want to go to the shops, buy the containers, label things, and make it all pretty. But actually, there's a problem in between, and that problem is the quantity problem. And that's when you've
Mm-hmm.
just got too much stuff. So it might be that you've got just overall too much stuff, like the quantity is just excessive everywhere. Or it might be that you've just got too many clothes for the wardrobe that you have. Maybe you've moved house, the wardrobe's a bit smaller, and now what was not a quantity problem all of a sudden is because you just don't have that space anymore. And so the solution for a quantity problem is to declutter. Like that's the only solution. You have to declutter the quantity down. And then you end up with, okay, what's the next problem? Actually, I feel like I'm decluttering all the time, or I feel like I'm tidying up all the time. And then maybe you've got a systems problem, which is where do things live? How are they stored? What's the way that I'm organizing the items that I've kept? How am I going to organize that in my home? And so then you start to go, okay, now we're dealing with the organization. We want to keep like with like. We want to use containers wisely. And so that's kind of the fun bit. Like I love the decluttering bit, but a lot of people love that organizing bit. But then there's another problem that we often encounter, and that is that you can't keep on top of it. And so you feel like you're constantly going back three steps, or you're spending hours every week tidying and organizing, putting things away, but you feel like you're never quite getting ahead. And so I was like, I think then we have a maintenance problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution to a maintenance problem is just habits. It's don't put it down, put it away. It's just getting into the rhythm of living in an organized home, which I think that you and Leslie actually teach really, really well. It's not just about kind of setting vision. It's not just about decluttering. It's not just about organizing, but it's like, how are you going to live so that you can live in this space well, maintain this space well? And that's when you get to enjoy the freedom of it. And all of
Mm-hmm.
those problems are not linear. It's not like you go A, B, C, D, tick the box, give me a certificate, I'm done.
Yeah.
But when you can identify like why the wheels are falling off, you can
Yeah.
actually be much more efficient with kind of the solution and much more directed to solve the actual problem.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You would think after like 10 years of like doing all this, and all of a sudden I had words for it. And I went, oh,
Yeah.
this makes so much sense. It's universal. It's not just Amy specific. It's
Yeah.
universally, these are the
Yeah.
different stages we go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So it's only as good teachers, we want to help you identify and actually process every step of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exactly what you say. When you talk about vision and you talk about motivation, we say, what's your big picture goal? What is the
That's the
reason
one.
why you're doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a tidy house. Yeah, but that's not specific
No,
enough.
why do you want a tidy house?
Why? Is
Yeah.
it because you want to have your friends over for a coffee? Is it because you want to open the door without being embarrassed? Is it because you want to have your grandchild to stay, that your children can have play dates without them telling their mom, like, wow, that house is like, toys were everywhere and it was really chaotic. I had a great time, but all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
What's your why? What's your
Mm-hmm.
big picture goal? And when you've got that in mind, you can go, okay, how am I going to break this down? Because you can't say I want to do my whole house. It's like saying I want to climb Mount Everest.
No.
How do you do that? So you need to go, right, this is where I'm going to start. And that's why we do this order in the book, which we advise. But
Yep.
we're not, like you said, we're not linear. We're not like, this is
Mm-hmm.
the only way. We say, if it were up to us, we would start here and move your way through. And exactly what you say. For me, especially me as a professional organizer as well, working with clients, the decluttering is really important.
Yeah.
I always want to be with clients. You can't say, Ingrid, here's my house, you can declutter it. Because I'm like, these are your things.
Yeah.
You need to make decisions. I want to teach you how to make decisions
Mm-hmm.
about this stuff. We need to look at the quantity. Maybe we need 7 towels per person family. Fine. If you go to the gym and the beach and you do sports 5 times a week and you like a fresh towel every day when you are a 7 towel per person. I am a 3 towel per person family because I reuse my towels, I hang them up. They're not in a heap on the floor getting like all like
Getting
groggy and manky. So you know what I mean? It's not
totally.
about the numbers. We can guide and say, well, you want to have one in the cupboard, one in the wash, one on the
Yeah.
thing, one that makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe you are just, everybody lives their own lives. So you can't
Yeah.
put quantity on things, but it can help in certain occasions. And then, of course, indeed, the organizing. I love that as well, that you say it's a like with like. It's a place for everything, everything in its
Yeah.
place. It is what makes sense to you. Do people ask you as well, Amy, all the time? Can you just copy your house in my house and I will be fine?
Yeah. Can you tell me where this belongs? And I'm like, I can't tell you where it belongs, but I've got some questions that'll help us get there.
God, we are like soul sisters, Amy. We are soul sisters. It's true, isn't it? They're like, Ingrid,
Yeah.
but you're an organized person. You tell me where you keep this in your house. And I'm like, well, I keep this in my house, in that drawer, in that cupboard, in that box, and I can tell you exactly where.
Yeah.
But you don't have that cupboard, that drawer, in that
No.
place. So,
And I don't live with you.
yeah. And where would you look for it?
Where
What
would you look
makes
for it?
sense to you?
Yeah.
And you need to teach people categorizing, right?
Yes.
What belongs
Huge.
together? What makes sense to
Yeah.
live in the same cupboard?
Yeah.
Everybody knows they want to have their socks and underwear together, but there's so many other things they're like, but I don't even know where I would look for it. And I'm like, well, what would be the other thing that would make sense to put together?
Yeah. Like when you're organizing your gift wrapping, maybe it would make
Yeah.
sense to have a pair of scissors in there and a bit of sticky tape. Like you've got to think really practically, not just like it's not a store. It's your
Mm,
home and you want to make your life easy. So, yes, you can have all of your tape in one cupboard in the study, but if your gift wrapping stuff is at the other end of the house, not anywhere near it, then actually that's annoying for you. Make it simple. There's actually no rules.
yeah.
You get to do it your way, but like use some of the guidelines of people who have walked before you because we've got some experience, not just because of our own homes, the thousands of homes that we've been in as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, Completely agree. And then, of course, I'm so glad you're also touching on maintenance because that's always a bit forgotten, isn't it?
It's like, yeah, it's really forgotten, but then you're ripping people off. Like you're not giving people all the tools.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as well, I think a lot of people I think they still see decluttering as a project.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, decluttering is like laundry. It never stops.
And you can make it easier, can't you? Because you
Yes.
can make the laundry easier.
Yeah.
You can make it that you don't have 15 baskets. So you can never have 15 baskets of laundry to sort. And in the same way, you can have good habits so that it doesn't take you huge amounts of time, but it does require time. As long as
Yeah.
there are alive humans in your house, you kind of need to go through this process,
Yeah.
whether it's as part of your weekly habit or monthly habit or seasonal habit or daily habit. It's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. We talk a lot about daily resets and
Yeah.
non-negotiables. So, what do you need to do on a daily basis? So, even if you've got like a super busy day, what are the couple of things that have to be done so you don't go the next day, oh, and washing up
Yeah.
or putting a dishwasher on or doing the
Mm-hmm.
washing up by hand if you're not as lucky enough to have a dishwasher. That's where it starts, right? Because the
Yeah.
next day you want to drink from your mug, and because we all have a favorite mug, don't we? We
We
all
sure
have,
do.
you want to empty the recycling. You kind of, you need to
Yeah.
feed the pets. You need to,
Yeah.
there's things you have to do every day. And once you start to get those daily resets
Mm-hmm.
and do your future self a favor, then you can
Yeah.
kind of start to build on that, because then it all doesn't come down to the weekend, right?
Well, otherwise you end up robbing your free time,
Yeah,
because if you can habit stack and you just happen to, while you're just before you brush your teeth, you make sure there's no dirty clothes on the floor of the bathroom,
yeah,
that might take you 15 seconds. But if it's constantly like a mental tab open in your brain of like, oh, I keep walking past that bathroom and three kids have left socks and undies and there's a pair of footy shorts, then if you let that build up, you've got to keep it in your brain. That's the bit that I struggle with. I do not have the brain power to have all these mental tabs open. Like I just need to do it now and close that tab down. And that's a gift to my future self, because
yeah,
she's already going to have plenty of things on her plate tomorrow. And so
yeah.
if I can just not add another one, I'm happy.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And having a mental tab open, because I
Mm,
think people do have so much in their brains, right?
yeah.
And then it all starts to whirl. And then
Yeah.
the procrastination and the kind of the paralyzing, like, oh, what now? And I don't
Yeah.
even know where to start anymore.
Yeah. One of the things, Ingrid, I identified myself doing about 12 months ago is I would walk past something that needed doing. It might have been I needed to pick up something off the ground, a cupboard was open, something was left out. And I found myself going, ugh, might as well. Like instead of feeling like I needed to summon some kind of motivation, I was like, I actually don't need motivation for this. I just might as well do it. And it
Yeah.
was the 3 second thing. But as soon as I started giving myself permission to out loud go, ugh, might as well, it
Yeah.
actually freed me to do so many of those little things that otherwise
Hmm.
I would walk over, that I would turn a blind eye to, that I would procrastinate against. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even need motivation. Sometimes you
Mm.
just kind of need to just go, do you know what? I've got to do it at some point. I might as
Yeah.
well do it now.
Yeah. I think that's really, really fun. I agree. It's like, when people put stuff on the stairs for them to bring
Ugh,
it up,
yeah.
and you see everybody walk past it, and you're like, seriously?
Yeah, no.
Well, when I need to go up the next time, I might as well take it up because it has to go
Correct.
up and somebody's
Got to
got to,
go up at some point.
yeah. And you know what? I think once you also let go some of the things, of course you can, because you can nag all day, every day, can't you?
Yeah.
Nobody's
Hmm.
helping. But then when you start doing it yourself, and the volume start to go down, and because clutter can become so invisible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just don't see it anymore.
You actually don't. It becomes completely visually unidentifiable to you. And so, a good example of this is a couple of years ago, I started this little experiment at our house. So we've got like a windowsill, and I love drinking Coke Zero. And so I wondered how observant my husband would be. And I just started putting empty cans up there. And I think we got to like 16 before he was like, oh, why are there cans? Because one, didn't notice it. Two, and then all of a sudden it's visually invisible to him. He's not noticing. We don't notice the clutter. We just walk past and think, oh no, that's just kind of where that lives. We've given permission for it to live in that space.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I've never done it. I've never done that. But I do have a little windowsill in my bathroom where like empty toilet rolls go, so I can
Yeah.
recycle them, right? So because I don't throw them away, I put them to the side. And I sometimes really wonder why I'm the only one who kind of takes it all down every time, because I
Yeah.
see it.
They're not seeing it. I don't
I
think it's an
know.
act of rebellion. I don't
Yeah,
think the kids are like, do you know what? Mum's going to deal with that. I think they just
yeah,
genuinely don't have an awareness of it often.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, you have to work on that, and you've got to, make sure that at one point other people are starting to contribute as well. Because, when you live
Absolutely.
at home with a family, everybody's got to contribute in their way and in the best way they can. But I think it's also when there's loads of clutter, then also people go, but I don't know either where we start and what we do, right? So
Well,
tidying
that's
up your
right.
room, it's like, well, I don't even know what that means.
No, and I think like in my bedroom, if something's on the floor, that it's out of place. Whereas if
Yeah,
I go to a client's house, there's 400 things on the floor. So I don't know what's out of place. Maybe
yeah,
that bowl should be in the kitchen, but it's not out of place. It's alongside all the other clutter. And
yeah,
so many of the remedies for all of these things is less. It is actually
yeah,
living with less, because when you've got less bowls, you have to do less dishes. And when you've got
yeah,
less dishes, you have to unstack the dishwasher less. When you unstack the dishwasher less, you've got more time. Like, less is the solution to
yeah,
so many of the
yeah,
frustrations that we feel in our homes, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, I think what we see a lot as well is that people have things out because
Hmm.
they think that having it out reminds me them that it's there. But
Yeah.
I know mainly the problem is the reason they've got it out is because they can't put it away because the cupboards are full.
Yeah.
So one of the scariest things I say to people, and I would say in the membership and about, you have to start with the cupboards. But
Mm,
they're like, yeah, but when I open the doors, things fall out, and then I don't know what's in there. And I'm like, yeah, because it got full, so the next lot had nowhere to be put, so it was put out,
yeah.
and now there's the problem. That's why there are floor drops and
Hmm.
exercise clothes piles on exercise machines and
Yeah. Yeah.
15 baskets of laundry because things can't be put away. So you have to start with the drawers and the wardrobes. And that's where having less, because then
Yeah.
everything else starts to run smoother. Oh gosh, we're so like
No,
similar.
I
It's
know,
absolutely
I know.
crazy. It's
And
crazy.
I feel like I just want to like speak into people directly into people's minds sometimes when they're like, no, but if I put that jacket away, I'll forget that I've worn it. And I'm
Mm,
like, but if you have less clothes, it'll be so easy to put it away and so easy to find it that so when it's like I need it out in order to remember it, often that's because our brains are having so many tabs open that yeah,
mm,
you are going to forget it if you put it away. That is actually a true thing. But when you have less and when there are only 3 outstanding pieces of paperwork, you're not going to forget. And when you don't have
yeah,
clothes that you don't wear in the wardrobe, you're not going to forget that that black t-shirt's your favorite because it's only black t-shirt in your wardrobe, or you love all of the ones that you've got. Like it actually, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, absolutely love the whole identifying the problem, and I think I've really realized even more now after having this conversation how much how alike we are in our teachings, how
Yeah.
we sit behind our message, and how our message is so alike,
Yeah.
and that's why it's such a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much for enjoying our book. So can I then deduct that you would definitely recommend it to our friends in Australia, New Zealand, that if
Oh,
they
yes.
see it,
Yes.
to grab a
Yes.
copy?
And no excuse if you don't see it, just go online and get a copy. There's no excuse if you see it or not. You need to just go and get a copy.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for being a guest here on our show. I've loved absolutely talking to you. And yes, so Ingrid and Leslie Go Global Week is in full swing, so you can keep enjoying podcasts every day because, of course, this month our book is coming out both in Australia, New Zealand, but also the US and Canada. And that's why we've got all these amazing guests on the show. And we hope you love our book. It's doing really well here in the UK. We're so proud of it. And yes, so go by Amy's recommendation and have a look
Do
at
it.
it and learn more about the thinking and doing and our Reset Your Home system. So thank you, Amy, for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.